We have often talked about how significant geography is from the perspective of depicting any type of trend. Trend in the way the questions are asked, trend in the way the syllabus is framed, and trend in the way a question can be asked in a variety of ways. Now, when it is being talked about, that is a variety of ways in which the question can be asked. Then there are there are many variables that are acting on geography, which allows it to be very variable in terms of the nature of the questions that can possibly be asked. Some of these questions have been asked in the past, of course, from the same topic. Now, if the topic remains the same, then there are three visible trends that are going to be part of it. And these visible trends happen to be one of them, that is the past question. All of these questions that have been asked in the past. The second is the type of questions that are going to be asked in the present. The third is the topic remaining the same, the question that will be asked in the future. Now, this is what exactly determines the trend. And this trend is visible in, and it will be visible in the way the topics are picked up. So, the trend, all in all, in this case, will be talking about this will be talking about not only the questions, the trend, the way the topics are perceived. That is the perception of the topics in this case. Second is going to be its contemporary form. The third is associated with how significant it is from the perspective of a correlationship. Now, understand that part. That is, the degree of a correlationship in the past had been different. The degree of correlationship will be very different right now. The degree of contemporaneity in geography, at least in this section, that is climatology, had been very different in the past. It will be very different right now. And the perception with respect to that topic, of course, in the past had been different and now will be different. How is it that this topic is going to be seen? So these are the three aspects, three completely different aspects. One is the way certain things have been in the past. Then the second is the components of the trend that determine it. Now that is going to be dealt with topic by topic. Now pick up the topic. It actually goes on to begin with temperature and pressure belts of the world. It should go on to begin with the heat budget of the Earth atmosphere system. Anyhow, that is going to be part of it. So, beginning with the heat budget of the Earth, it's not going to be Earth, it is going to be Earth atmosphere system. And the meaning of this word has now been completely different. Some time back, it was only going to be conventional in nature because there was some amount of energy that was coming on the Earth. There was some amount of energy that was going back into space, and that is how it is. Of course, the trend began with 1983 when there was a question that was asked, how is it that the heat budget is being complicated by other factors? That was the way the question was, the topic was put on. That is, how is it that it is being complicated by other factors? And when we are going to be talking about complication, of course, it was referring to some aspects. So that was in 1983. And UPSC questions at that point of time were much more advanced than what they are right now. So now this question is going to be asked to you in the form of how is it that global warming has been responsible for its disruption of the heat budget? And in future, this question is going to be asked to you in the form of that is any type of a change in the heat budget will go on to bring about some concomitant changes. Now, bring about the factors or bring about the areas where such a type of disruption is going to be visible and that will go on to affect the climate of a region. Now, that is again related to a topic in climatology itself, or maybe that any disruption in the heat budget will have a concomitant effect on the feedback. And how is it that it will going to lead to climatic changes? Or how is it that it will going to lead to the evolution of the heat dome? Or how is it? That means it can be related to a variety of aspects. Second is the temperature belt and temperature and pressure belt of the world. Now, it is effectively, two topics, temperature belt of the world and pressure belt of the world. Two of them are not the same. Temperature belt effectively means that we are talking only about the distribution of temperature. But in this case, the word is temperature. And when the word is going to be temperature, then there are going to be a variety of type of themes that will going to emerge out of it. So one of them can go to be horizontal distribution of temperature, that is temperature belt. The second is going to be the temporal distribution of temperature, that is going to be in time. So it can be associated with again global warming in this case. And the third part is the diurnal ranges in the temperature conditions. And what we are talking about, that is a temperature in relation to a variety of aspects. For example, now if it is going to be, let's say, pressure, then the way that the question can now be put is temperature is only one factor that determines pressure, but pressure is determined by many factors like the upper air circulation discussed. So temperature and pressure will be linked in the coming era, in the coming times of sorts. Of course, we are going to be talking about the trend that is visible, that is present. We're going to show you the type of question that have been asked during recent times and sometime in the past. They have been by and large direct. But why is it that we are concerned about what will go to happen in the future is because the topics of geography are getting exhausted. So if the topics are going to be getting exhausted, then there are two possibilities. The first is they will eliminate the topic if the exhaustion has been a bit too much on that count. The second is that they will go on to innovate the topic. Innovation means that is they will go on to bring about a lot of change in the way that the questions can go on to be asked with respect to by inserting a lot of things like correlationship and correlationship also in a variety of ways. So it is going to be temperature is going to be of course one of them in this case. So temperature and pressure belt can be correlated. Now pressure belt can also be correlated. For example, pressure determines the temperature conditions, and pressure conditions have been associated with some of the highest or the lowest temperature conditions. There are anomalies and there are direct relationships. Explain. Now we keep on thinking that from where this question may have been asked, but it's simple. It says that in subtropical region, subtropical high pressure belt, the temperatures are very high, largely because it's a high pressure belt and the sun shines. The same thing, that is, there is a high pressure belt in the polar areas as well, but then the temperatures are really very cool in that region, despite the fact that it also high pressure and the winds keep on subsiding in those areas. So that goes on to become a part of it. Now, this is the way that the question will be framed in the future, and that's the way that we talk about. Third is atmospheric circulation, and atmospheric circulation in the true sense of the term. I repeat, in the true sense of the term is going to be very different. And when we say that is going to be very different, it means that how is it that the lower air circulation takes place, how is it that the middle circulation takes place, and how is it that the upper circulation takes place. It's not only about planetary winds, it's not only about trade winds, westerlies, or a polar study. It's not about that at all. And this is something that is that you're going to find it in this case. That is, these are the diagrams with which you used to be showing it. You used to be showing it where are the subtropical high pressure belts and which are the winds, like in this case, and so on and so forth. So atmospheric circulation will go on to mean completely different themes in this case. It may be associated with Palman model. For example, one question that was asked some time back was the tricellular model of atmospheric circulation. That means the three cell. That means the Hadley cell, the Ferrel cell, and the polar cell. That was going to be one part associated with it. And how is it that how is it that it is going to be correlated to the upper air circulation in this manner? So it can go into based on this Palman model. You will go on to find that is what are the limitations of the tricellular model of atmospheric circulation, and how is it that Palman's model is an improvement over it. Now that becomes a true topic of sorts. That is a true topic in atmospheric circulation. Of course, other is going to be atmospheric stability and instability. And when that is being talked about, atmospheric stability and instability, then what makes atmosphere stable, what makes it rise, and of course, instability leads to a variety of things and variety of themes as well, because you may be asked about, of course, this is going to be one of these topics, but understand it. The question that will be asked in the past had been, of course, this is a topic on which not too many questions have been asked. That is, what are the factors that lead to stability, or what are the factors that lead to instability? Now the question will be asked will be, this was the question that may have been asked in the past. If the topic is still not exhausted, that means this is the question that can be asked. But then the future of it is going to be, that is, instability leads to a variety of weather conditions. Identify those weather conditions that are created because of instability. Or maybe that is, stability is associated with a variety of weather conditions. Identify all of those weather conditions that are product of atmospheric stability. Now that means you have to be very, very correlative and conceptually very, very clear in this case. Maybe a step ahead in this case, that stability is associated with some type of pollution control and some type of cure for atmospheric pollutants. Give an example of how atmospheric stability has resulted in a concentration of the pollutants. This can be a case study as well. Now, that will going to become a bit difficult to handle, but then climatology is one such type of a topic where when you understand the whole topic, whole of climatology, it becomes very small. And when you pick up only one topic, that becomes very, very extensive of sorts. So that is going to be atmospheric stability. Then you have planetary and local winds. Now, when we are talking about planetary and local winds, we are essentially talking about the winds like that of the trade winds, the of course, the prevailing westerlies, the polar easterlies, and the local winds are going to be part of it. So you're going to find it. This is a diagram that goes on to show. You have to, of course, keep on innovating the way that you're going to draw diagrams and the way that you're going to explain them as well in this case. Now, if you are going to be making this diagram, that is going to be acceptable. But the expectation now will be that it must be correlated with something like an upper air circulation. So you have to add another dimension in this case. You have to add another dimension here as well. Now that is the way that you have to talk of. And then you have to make a jet stream as well. This is the way when you superimpose over it, that makes the answer qualitatively better and qualitatively much more better. Now that is going to be another type of a trend. Now in this case, in this diagram, everything is correct. I mean, there's nothing wrong. But if you want to make it qualitatively better, you say this is the way that the air rises. Air never rises in a straight manner. It always goes on to rise in such a way. This is largely because it's a thermodynamic principle that the atmosphere follows. On a rotating body, which is not homogeneous, the fluid movement will never ever be linear. Now, if you understand physics, you will understand this part. On a rotating body, which is inhomogeneous, that means different type of surfaces, of fluid, that is air is fluid, like water is fluid, it can never be linear. Rotating, it is circular, it is fluid. So that's the way that the air goes on to move. Now, it will not going to take too much amount of an effort in order to draw such type of a diagram, and it will go on to be wonderful all in all for you in this case. These are the type of questions that have been asked in the class. For example, you can go to pick up this part, explain the heat budget of the Earth. It's so simple, but not that way. This is not the way that the question can actually be asked. Then a mechanism and significance of tricellular meridional circulation. That means it's going to be talking about Hadley cell, Ferrel cell, and the polar cell. That is also going to be two directed. And a note on the temperature inversion of temperature. That is, temperature is not going to be only about temperature belt as we talked about it. It is going to be much more than that. So it is going to be inversion of temperature. And then characteristics of planetary wind belts in relation to pressure wind belts. Now, this is something that can be repeated as well. That is, how is it that the world's winds belts, that is the trade winds, that is the westerlies, that is the polar easterlies, can be correlated to pressure belts. And of course, the previous diagram, the one that we showed, that will go on to come in handy with you. But then it has to be modified in a different manner altogether. Come to the extension of this syllabus, monsoons and jet streams. Of course, you have a topic like monsoon in the second paper as well. So we're not going to talk about it right now, but jet stream are a part of it. Now, jet stream are an extension of upper air circulation. And it's very logical that it is only after you have studied a jet stream that you will go on to study air masses and frontogenesis and temperate and tropical cyclones and so on. The types and distribution of precipitation as well. Now, with respect to jet stream, the question some time back had been very, very simple. That is, what are jet streams? What are jet streams? And what are the different type of it? How is it that they affect weather condition? Now, maybe now that is taking a step ahead, they can go to ask you about the origin of the jet stream. That means discuss the origin of the different characteristics of jet streams. That can go to be one of these questions. Now, when you are going to be talking about, of course, that is going to be one of them. Or you may go to, if it is that it is going to be extended a bit further, then you will be asked about that is the difference in the track of the jet streams have been largely instrumental in determining the world weather conditions. Explain it with reference to the polar vortex or the heat dome. Both of them can go on to be associated with it. So this is how exactly the topic can be explained. That is one. Then air mass and frontogenesis. Air mass is it's a very simple topic. That how is it that the air masses affect the weather condition? Discuss air masses, the classification of the air masses, and how is it that the air masses affect the weather conditions. That is one. Maybe that the question can be put to you in a different manner. That is the concept of air masses. It's a concept. It doesn't go to be a phenomena. It's a concept. That is it is we that we have derived it. Frontogenesis, that means the formation of a front exists. It exists and it does happen. That is one part. That is the evaluation of the concept of a air mass. Frontogenesis is not a concept that requires to be evaluated. Of course, there are two different ways in which a frontogenesis can be explained. One is by polar front theory, another by jet stream theory. So you can be asked about the relative significance of jet stream theory in relation to the polar front theory. That is going to be one of them, and that is a type of a question that is asked right now. In the future, this question is going to be mostly about most of this frontogenesis is associated with a variety of type of weather conditions. What are these weather conditions and how is it that they affect day-to-day life in the temperate regions? Because it is in the temperate regions that it affects or maybe in tropical regions as well. You'll understand and you'll imagine that western disturbances are part of frontogenesis. And frontogenesis is actually, it's the same topic. Temperate cyclone is the same topic. So it's no more different at all. Tropical cyclones have been very, very different. Now, up till now, the question that have been asked from tropical cyclone, we discussed the origin of the tropical cyclone, origin and structure of the tropical cyclone. Maybe the second part that will be asked will be, that is the present question that will be asked will be, discuss the structure of the tropical cyclones in relation to its characteristics. Now, the question that can be asked is that is the discuss the origin of the eye wall, only one component of tropical cyclone. Discuss the origin of the eye wall and show how does it affect the weather condition, or how is it associated with the ferocity of the tropical cyclone, or how is it that it is associated with the strength of the tropical cyclone. Maybe you can go to take it a bit further. That is tropical cyclones are going to be asked in another way as well. That is the effect of the tropical cyclones have been far and wide, and analyze the relationship of the increasing frequency of the tropical cyclone with global warming. Now, this is something that can be asked to you, and of course, it can be asked to you in a different manner altogether. In this case, so that is going to be another topic. And then you have types and distribution of precipitation. We are going to be talking about distribution. That is the most important part, distribution of precipitation. Now, while talking about distribution of precipitation, the more significant part here is types of precipitation is very simple. That is orographic precipitation, convectional precipitation, cyclonic precipitation. It can be very simple. And sometime back, the questions that have been asked on the type of precipitation that has always been there, and the simplest of them to ask. In distribution, there can be a variety of type of permutation combinations that can be put to you as far as questions are concerned. And one of them can be discuss the high precipitation zones in the temperate regions with examples and regions behind it. That means we have to talk only about British Columbia, Britain, New Zealand. These are the only three places that you have to talk about, or maybe Chile as well. That is South America. These are the only four places that you can go on to talk about. Maybe you can go to be asked about, despite the fact that all the equatorial zones happen to lie on the equator. That is, Amazon lies on equator, Amazon Congo basin and Indonesia lies on equator, but then the nature of rainfall, pattern of rainfall is going to be all different in different places. Explain it with regions. Now, that is the question. That is the actual type of a question that can be put to you, and that actually is going to be the way the question will be asked in the coming days. Weather and climate is a very simple topic. That is the distinction between weather and climate. It should have been a topic that should have been in the beginning rather than here. Now, talking about this topic, we are of course talking about jet stream, and this is one of these diagrams that you need to know how to make such type of a diagram, which you can go to show it clearly. Of course, you must imagine that everything is evolving. Everything is evolving, and so is going to be the complication in the diagrams and how many things that you can actually go on to show. Now, this is a new trend, and an inability of good number of candidates to draw a good diagram and inability, or maybe you can go to say that is their inability to actually express themselves through diagrams is one of the greatest stumbling blocks in getting marks in geography. Same is the case that you're going to find it here also. There is advance of southwest monsoon, and people can actually go on to make it as well. And you will go on to find it that this advance does going to take place here, and with these are the areas here. Now, while you're going to make this diagram, what you have to understand it, you have to take care of this line. You have to take care of this line as well. You have to take care of this line. These are the two plus the central part of it. And why is it that it goes on to get curved ultimately? There is no way that you can go to draw 100% correct, but then there shouldn't go on to be any big conceptual mistake associated with it at all. That is about air masses. Where exactly, which type of air masses go on to exist? So when you are going to be drawing a diagram on air masses, now these are the aspects that you have to keep in mind. Now that means you must go on to draw a diagram of the world, and you must go on to know MT, CT, MP, CA, all of them, and where is it that they are going to be confined in this case here. Coming to the note on jet stream, imagine one of these questions that was asked in 83, as we talked about, that is of course write our short notes on jet stream. That is it. It was as simple as that. And then define air masses, how to originate. This was a question that was asked in 97, very straight. And the origin of weather conditions associated with tropical and temperate cyclone. That comparison is also very, very direct. Then an account and distribution of the precipitation on the surface of the earth. That is the account, that is given account of the types, and not, it is not that account for that means you have to give regions. This is a description, and these are the type of questions, or were the type of questions that used to be asked in a geography, in climatology. Now that is not going to be so significant at all. Then you have Koppen Thornthwaite and other classification of climate. This used to be the topic for the geographers, because geographers are hooked onto two topics essentially in physical geography. One is a Davis cycle, continental drift, and the other is associated with Koppen Thornthwaite and Trivartha. That is a type of a climate. Now, having said that, this is going to be very, very empirical. That means one section, another section, and so on and so forth. Now, when you come to a topic like this one, it's a one type of topic that is very, very factual. Not too much amount of experimentation is going to be taking place. And this is one topic that is a spent out topic. When you say a spent out topic, that means the maximum number of questions ever asked in climatology have been on climatic classification. And of course, we are not going to be considering that important at all. Hydrological cycle, it's a very simple topic here. And maybe that you can go on to be at best ask about the disruption that would have taken place in hydrological cycle, or the disruption that is actually taking place in hydrological cycle. But then more important is global climatic changes and role and response of human being in climatic changes. Global climatic changes at worldwide and the role and response of human beings in this case. Only human beings in this case. Now, ideally speaking, this is a topic that should have been where it should have been in environmental geography, but it is going to be there. So the role of human being. Now, when it is going to be about role of human being, the topic goes on to become very, very wide. Now, as we'll go on to talk about, there are going to be some conventional ways in which the human beings have been responsible for changing the climate, like fossil fuel, like dry ethyl chloro form, and then you also going to be having some of these gases like methane and so on, the release of it. Now, understand this part that is more important than that has been discovered that human beings now they are responsible for changing or bringing about such type of a change because of many regions and many factors. And these factors and regions happen to be variety of them. They are associated with fashion, they are associated with non-vegetarian diet, they are associated with tourism. Now, these are unconventional, unusual, unthought of factors in this case. So that is going to be one part associated with it. Then you have applied climatology in urban climate. Now, when we are going to be talking about the applied climatology in urban climate, applied climatology is one, urban climate is going to be second. And you will go on to see that the number of questions and the way the questions are going to be asked in urban climate will go on to increase in the future, because urban climate is going to be at the focus, at the locus of a good number of things that happen to be happening right now. Applied climatology is one section that not too many questions have been asked. And if you can go on to understand that part, applied climatology will go on to be associated with with some type of questions that have been there is discuss the role of application of climatology in agriculture. Maybe that is the type of a topic that would mean, but now it can be role of climate in aviation in determining the path of the aircraft, the track of the aircraft or the air corridors. How is it that climate is associated with that part? That is going to be significant here. Applied climatology in urban climate. And that's why it is going to be significant. Urban climate is going to be, that is the differentiation of urban climate with the rural climate. And that is one of these type of diagrams. Now we are showing this diagram because as you can go to find it, that is the temperature of an urban area, the temperature of the rural area. Of course, that is in Fahrenheit. But then even if you're going to be taking it in account of centigrade, you're going to find it that is in the rural areas, and in the rural areas, the temperature is low. While when it comes to the urban area, the temperature actually goes on to rise. And that is what is going to be very, very important in this case. Now, urban climate can go to have a variety of type of dimensions, and it is these dimensions that are always going to be significant. That is, for example, in this case, discuss urban climate as part of weather system. You'll say that, of course, it's a part of weather system because it is now it's a completely different type of a circulation within. But then understand it, the way that the questions are going to be asked in urban climate in the future will be, that is how is it that the sky view factor is responsible for increasing the temperature in the urban areas? One factor. Maybe Venturi effect, that is going to be another one. Now, this is the way that the questions have been asked in general studies and other sections, and geography is waiting to be explored in this case. So all of those topics which are going to be getting exhausted or which have been exhausted, they have seen such type of questions being asked in general. So that is going to be one. Now, picking up the topics associated with the climatic classification, this has been very, very simple way in which the question has been asked. That is Koppen's classification and salient characteristic. Then another one that has been associated with hydrological cycle, that has also been simple despite the fact that it has been 2019. But then for simple questions, you don't require to be so much applicable. And like this one as a note on hydrological cycle. But then whenever the question trend is going to be changing, and why is it that we are saying that it will keep on changing, it will go on to change even more? This is largely because of the fact that the questions are getting exhausted from the topics, and when they're going to get exhausted, that is the response that will take place in general. We are going to be talking factors contributing to global climatic changes. So it's so simple. 2009, that was imagine how the world was so different, and all the people who would have qualified at that point of time, for them, the task was going to be so easy. But for you, it is not going to be so at all. Climatology finds itself reflected in general studies paper as well. For example, salient features of world's physical geography, that is part of it, and that will go on to comprise cyclones, that is the geophysical phenomena, cyclones, etc. Geographical features and their location as well, and including water bodies, ice caps, ice cap. This was, if you recall, one of these questions that was asked on ice cap was cryosphere. And of course, this is a question that can be asked in geography, that can be asked in climate, that can be asked in general studies as well. So it is always going to be helpful, because geography is always going to be helpful for your general studies preparation also at the same time. And when we are talking about it, climatology is one such type of a section where you study one topic and you are going to be a cipher. When you're going to study all the topics, then you're going to become a master, and the topic goes on to shrink. The reason is the degree of correlationship that exists in climatology. It is this correlationship that you have to think of explaining. It is this correlationship that you have to think of utilizing and exploiting as well.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.